not the same as art. Design is making a solution to something. Art is making a question. You know, like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to think about it. That's art. It's okay. Design is, you got a problem, we solve it for you. It's very practical. It's when the two intersect that the best things happen. When I think about Airbnb, it's solving a problem, but it's also asking a question about society. And it's a combination where magic happens. Some of you may be engineers or scientists. It's the exact same thing. Engineers make solutions, scientists make questions. And so if you don't understand art and design, just think about engineering and science. It's the two halves of the coin. You need both. You need both. Now, art is a point of view that you don't have to agree with. I was walking with my assistant from a long time ago, Elizabeth, near MIT, and the problem with artists, or the curse of an artist, is you see everything. You keep imagining stuff. It's very sort of creative up there. So I remember walking around after the rain had fallen, and I saw this puddle, and I thought, whoa, that looks like a heart. And you can't help but see patterns as someone who's creative. It's a wonderful curse. It's a wonderful gift. You know, even this word like heart, you see a word in there, right? It's this word, art. And you're like, oh, art, heart, right? It all works out. And someone told me once that you can't spell the word earth without art because it becomes Yeah? So these patterns are patterns that artists find, and design helps to communicate it. Because design is about connecting things together for you, aligning things together. Some of you who are creative people, designers, know this typeface called Comic Sans. It's like, you know, the thing you make fun of all the time. Comic Sans, well, that's really dumb design. But I don't believe Comic Sans is a dumb typeface. Because think about Comic Sans. It has a certain kind of format, certain feeling. What does it feel like? It feels like someone wrote it. They were writing really fast. It's impromptu, it's natural. Whereas, if you think about what is Comic Sans for? What use is it designed for? I wonder what it's used for. Maybe it's used for comics. And if it's used for comics, it makes total sense. Let me give an example. This is Mouse Person talking in Helvetica. Holy moly, Catman, use your utility belt. This is your pain meds in Comic Sans. Take one pill daily. Do you feel okay with that? But if you switch two together, it's all okay. Comics are talking in Comic Sans, and your medicine is talking in an authoritative voice. And so design is about connecting the two things that make sense together, solving a problem out of parts. Now, and I want to note that Paul Rand, my mentor, he designed the IBM logo, said that design is a method of putting form and content together, putting harmony. Now, when you think about art again, because I want to go back to design and art is a point of view. When I ran Rhode Island School of Design, I would always visit graduate shows. And I loved how there was one show of all these sculptures. And this is my favorite sculpture. It's a bed, it's a perfect size of your sleeping body. You're really like, well, I don't know if I can sleep on that, but it kind of makes sense. You know? Art does that, makes you stop, makes you question things. We love art. We love creativity. But I remember when I had a minor surgery one time I had a hernia. There's too much snow shoveling on the East Coast. I was carted into surgery. You know, they put you out, come out of surgery, and waking up, and the doctor's right there. My doctor, hey, when we opened you up, you know, we found there was something a little bit strange in there. But don't worry, we got creative. I was like, no, I don't want you to be creative. You know? So, on the one hand, we love creativity, but when it's material, we don't want people to be creative. So I think about it a lot. And I framed the design and art because the Airbnb team has been so helpful to understand for hosts, what are your 5 common problems? You probably have this written somewhere, but first one is that the photos don't describe the home. The second one is there's a missing alignment between the host and guest. Some basics might be missing, not sure about the rules, maybe the host isn't responsive. You all know these factors as challenges. And I was asked, well, how can design solve this? I said, oh, that's totally easy. I mean, it's really easy. It's easy because if you look at these 5 things, each of them can be solved by design. That can be solved by design. That can be solved by design. All 5 of these can be solved by design. So don't worry, you're in the right session. Because design is going to solve all those problems. Okay? You're relieved now. And design is going to solve those problems because these are the problem issues. It's inaccurate, missing alignment, it's missing something, no clarity. You know, things go wrong. So design is solving those problems. And how does it solve those problems? It solves those problems by doing a few things. Being truthful, aligning, having empathy for the customer, being clear on things and being attentive. These things look really easy, but all of you know, they're kind of hard. They require taking time. And you're busy. And why would you want to do this? Because you're kind of tired. I get tired sometimes. I'm 50 years old, a little tired even though I was 20 years old. So you're a little tired, or like, how do you do that? Well, you have to take the same creativity you have in what you do to solve these problems. Because design is creativity used for solving problems. It's the most fun thing to ever do. It's also hard. It's hard and fun. It's a combination of the goodness of 2 hard things. And why do we think design is going to work? Well, it turns out the entire business world think it's going to work for you too. This is the cover of Harvard Business Review. You know this magazine? It's kind of like the thing that all the MBAs love to read. Well, the cover last year was design. So the solution in design at all scales is, the solution in all companies today is design as well. When I was at Kleiner Perkins, a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, my whole focus was asking for the entire startup ecosystem, all types of companies, how to use design to solve these problems. And people ask me, well, is design solving anything in these companies? So I produced a report on this subject to talk about technology. But everyone would say to me, well, I wish my company was like Apple. Can you make my company like Apple? You know Apple? It's a popular company. Apple's so good at design. I want to be good at design like Apple. Well, you can't get as good design as Apple. You can't do that. It's hard. Why is it hard? So this is one of my computers. I have a collection of computers. You know, they all keep changing every year. This is from 30 years ago. It's a pretty cool computer. It's beige color. It has a volume knob like that. It's got a little headphone jack. It's beautifully designed. It's got a little handle. You can carry it. It's incredible, you know. It's designed with these sculpted keys. It has icons for the ports. This is an amazing little computer. This is a computer from 30 years ago, designed by a company called Apple, a company that was failing left and right. Why? Because it made this computer too expensive. Because you could make a computer that was half the price and twice the speed. Why would you buy a computer that costs twice and is half the speed? It's because Apple 30 years ago thought that how it feels, how a computer feels, is going to matter to you. Not to the nerds. We love nerds. I'm a nerd. Nerds, okay? For everyone would want to design a computer. So Apple as a company over 30 years has been designing these things. And so it's so good at it because as a company it has that competency. And as a longtime Airbnb fan, I see it as the Apple of the hospitality industry because it, from the beginning, has cared about design. And again, not just the superficial aspects of design, the beauty aspects of design, but the inclusive aspects. Like, how do you feel as a host? How do you feel as someone who's coming? That's the great part of the design that Airbnb is practicing, like no other company out there. This is a slide that I produced for what's called the Design and Tech Report for the investing industry that shows all the little startups that have been acquired by large technology companies and consulting firms, just because design is important. Companies like McKinsey, I'm sure you heard of McKinsey & Company? They've acquired 5 design firms. And so something is happening. It's the fact that industry is saying we need design. What is design? Design is caring about you. It's about you caring about your customers. It's a human thing. It isn't solved by software. So it's a great time for humanity, because humanity means something in this context. Also because computers were really used by technology people. I'm sure some of you remember there were the days when you would like buy a computer, bring it home, and did nothing at all. And you check email twice a day. Who remembers that? Remember that? You're like, oh, I gotta wake up, check my email. Then you go back to your life and like, it's nighttime, I'll check my email again. You know? And using email was kind of a pain. It was an ouch point. So it only hurt twice a day. Right? It's like, it hurts. Back to regular life. It hurt again. But we use these things called mobile phones today. And mobile phones, however, are unlocked all the time. And if it ouches just once, it'll ouch over 150 times that you're unlocking that phone. And that's not tolerable. So design has become important because we experience it so much often on the mobile phone. So I'm going to close on 3 thoughts on what is design. What is design? Design is a kind of sign. It's a way to see things. It's a way to create clarity. And I have a collection of emergency exit signs. Emergency exit signs, they're like people running away from things. And they're serious signs, I know, but every city has a different type of sign, I discovered. This is a sign from Chicago. This is a good sign. It says, if there's fire, run. This is a sign in Miami. It's like, okay, I understand. I've got my martini, I've got some priorities, go. I was also like in Denmark, and this is my favorite sign, a little hard to understand, but this is my existential crisis sign. This is like, it noticed that I was taking photographs of signs. And it's the one that stopped me from taking photographs of signs because I became self-conscious. So signs tell you things. Why are signs interesting? It's because our mind is wired to make sense of disorder. So we see all these dots, there's roughly 30 of them. You think, well, there's no pattern there. There's no sign there. But if I just change one thing, suddenly you see something. I can tell you there's nothing there. But you'll tell me, no, John, I see a clump there. It's because your brain can't help but create patterns. And the patterns sometimes make sense. Well, I know that pattern. I know this pattern. I don't know this pattern. But design is that shaping of signs. But it's not just a shaping of signs, it's also the finding of signs. All of us type all day long now on mobile phones, you know, and one thing you may not look at too carefully, but if you're a design person, you love all the little marks, like that dot on the I, or the comma, or the quotation mark. You're like, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful quotation mark. You know, you look at it, and I noticed that the perspective of seeing and noticing are connected. So one time in, look at all these comments. One time in Massachusetts where I live, I wanted to look for these signs after a snow. So I found all these punctuation marks in the snow. This is like a comma on my yard. This is another comma, you know? And I kept walking around looking for things, and I found like an exclamation point. I found 2 actually. And what happens is, design is about seeing these patterns and also synthesizing them. It's the ability to ask a question. It's about finding the patterns. What is the problem of finding patterns? It takes time. And again, going back to why is it hard to serve guests? It takes time to find these things, but it's also a pleasant discovery. The second thing is that design is a paradoxical thing to achieve. This is work by a professor at University of Virginia, Darden. And she pointed out how design is the time when familiarity and novelty become one and the same. Let's pause for a second. How can something be familiar and novel at the same time? When you think about something that is not novel, you say this is boring. If it's not familiar, you'll say I'm so confused. On the other hand, when it's very novel, you're excited, and when it's very familiar, you're excited too. But the 2 words mean kind of the opposite. So if you're a business person, like me, you like the quad chart. I'll make a quad chart. So when you make a quad chart, this is the bad quadrant. It's low novelty, low familiarity. It's the it quadrant. And then, if you go to